The cold breath of winter settled thickly over Washington, D.C., as Nathan Cole turned the key in the heavy steel door of his luxury auto repair shop. The metallic clunk echoed in the quiet night, a final punctuation mark on another long but successful day. Business had been thriving, too much so, he thought with a bitter twist in his gut. For a black man in America who worked his way up from nothing, success came with an invisible target on his back. And tonight, that target was being aimed at with precision. The hum of engines cut through the air just as Nathan pocketed his keys. 3 police cruisers rolled slowly down the street toward his shop, their headlights slicing the darkness. Tires crunched against the frosted pavement as they came to a stop. Doors flung open in unison, and 4 uniformed officers stepped out. No flashing lights, no sirens, just a silent warning that something was about to go very wrong. Nathan didn't need to be psychic to know this wasn't a routine patrol. These men weren't here for pleasantries or community engagement. Hands where we can see him, barked the tallest of them, Sergeant Vince Malloy. His cold, empty stare cut deeper than the winter air. Nathan sighed softly, his breath misting in front of him. He raised his hands slowly, keeping his expression neutral. "Evening, officers," he said, voice calm but edged in steel. "What seems to be the problem?" "No questions," Officer Bryce Donnelly snapped, stepping forward. His thin lips twisted into a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "We got a tip. Drugs. Maybe guns. Maybe worse." Nathan's jaw clenched. The rumors about corrupt cops shaking down black-owned businesses weren't rumors anymore. They were standing in front of him, and they were arrogant enough to think they could do it to him. Before Nathan could answer, Malloy waved a hand toward the door. "Search it." "Wait," Nathan started, but it was pointless. The officers barged inside, kicking over toolboxes, shattering glass display cases, dumping drawers onto the floor. The noise was a hurricane of destruction, tearing through the shop Nathan had spent years building. Malloy stayed behind, his pale eyes gleaming with something between greed and boredom. He stepped closer, boots grinding broken glass into the concrete floor. "This is a nice setup you've got here," he said casually. "Must make a killing." "I run an honest business," Nathan said, his voice steady but tight. Malloy chuckled without humor. "Not anymore." His tone dropped, sharp as a knife. "Protection fees. Starting tomorrow. You don't pay, things get complicated." Nathan let the threat hang in the air. He didn't flinch. He didn't blink. Because while they saw a mechanic with oil-stained hands and a clean reputation, they had no idea who he really was. Before he was Nathan Cole, owner of Cole's Customs, he had been Lieutenant Nathaniel Cole of the U.S. Army Delta Force. And these fools had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. He tilted his head slightly. "And if I refuse?" Malloy's smirk widened. "Fires happen. Drugs get found where they shouldn't be. Maybe a little girl says you touched her. You're smart. You know how this works." Nathan exhaled slowly, letting himself play the part they expected. "Fine," he said after a pause. "Come back tomorrow night. I'll have the money." Malloy nodded like a benevolent king granting mercy. "That's more like it. 10 grand a week." Nathan gave a small nod and watched as they swaggered back to their cruisers. They thought they'd won. They thought they had him under their thumb. But Nathan was already writing their epitaphs. Inside his office, Nathan locked the door behind him and pulled out an encrypted phone from a hidden compartment in the wall. He punched in a single number and waited. "Cole," a deep voice answered on the first ring. "Eli, I need eyes," Nathan said. "Surveillance, thermal, audio. Full coverage. Quiet." "Damn," Eli Ramsey said. "How bad?" "3 dirty cops think I'm their new ATM." There was a pause. "Then they're going to regret breathing." Eli Ramsey was an ex-CIA tech specialist who now ran his own private security firm, and he owed Nathan more than a few favors. Within the hour, Eli would have a team setting up cameras, mics, and traps all over Cole's Customs. But Nathan wasn't done yet. He spent the next few hours reinforcing entry points, installing motion sensors, and rigging silent alarms. He wasn't just going to catch them. He was going to scare them. He wanted them to feel hunted. The next night, exactly at 10 p.m., the cruisers returned. This time there were only 3 of them: Malloy, Donnelly, and Officer Ray Salazar. Fewer bodies to deal with, Nathan thought. Less cleanup. Nathan stood outside the shop's entrance under the pale wash of the streetlight. He held a black briefcase in his right hand. His face was expressionless, but his pulse was steady as a metronome. "You got our money?" Malloy sneered as he approached. Nathan nodded. "Right here." He held up the case. "But first, I've got a gift." Malloy frowned. "What?" With sudden, explosive speed, Nathan swung the briefcase in a wide arc. It connected with Malloy's jaw with a crack, sending the sergeant sprawling backward onto the pavement. Before Donnelly or Salazar could react, Nathan was already on the move. He twisted Donnelly's wrist, yanking the officer's pistol from its holster in a single fluid motion. A sharp elbow to Donnelly's ribs dropped him to his knees. Nathan aimed the stolen pistol at Salazar. "Hands up," he ordered. Salazar's hand twitched toward his own weapon. "Bad move." Nathan fired a single shot into the air. The bang echoed down the empty street like a thunderclap. "Next one goes through your kneecap," Nathan said coldly. The 3 officers froze. From the shadows, Eli stepped into view, holding a tablet. "Smile, assholes," he said, tapping the screen. Crystal clear footage played. The cops tearing through Nathan's shop the night before, demanding bribes, making threats. "You're done," Nathan said. His voice was quiet. "Final. 2 choices. Walk away, and I send this to Internal Affairs." Or he took a step closer. "I handle this myself." They didn't need him to explain. Delta Force legends didn't need introductions. Malloy's face was pale. "What do you want?" "A confession," Nathan said. "On camera. Now." Donnelly looked at Salazar. Salazar looked at Malloy. But Malloy knew there was no escape. He spat on the ground and growled. "Fine. We did it. We've been shaking down businesses for years." Nathan nodded. "Good. Now, get out of my sight." By sunrise, the video was in the hands of Internal Affairs, the mayor's office, and every major news outlet in the city. It went viral in less than an hour. By noon, the entire precinct was under investigation. Malloy, Donnelly, and Salazar were arrested. More victims came forward. The chief of police had no choice but to clean house. Nathan sat in his office, watching it all unfold on the news. Eli called. "You good?" Eli asked. "For now," Nathan said. "You want me to stay close?" Nathan chuckled. "I'll call if things get messy again." Eli ghosted. "You sure you're not gonna, finish them?" Nathan exhaled. "Already did." As he hung up, Nathan glanced at the live feed from his security cameras. He had fought terrorists in the Middle East, drug lords in Central America, and war criminals in Africa. Now, the real war was at home. And if anyone else came for him, they wouldn't get a second chance. Because once a soldier, always a soldier. Epilogue. Weeks passed. Business returned to normal, at least on the surface. Nathan knew better than to let his guard down. He upgraded his security system, reinforced alliances with other business owners, and kept his team of ex-military friends on speed dial. One cold afternoon, as he closed up shop, a young black boy watched from the sidewalk, eyes wide. "Are you the guy who stood up to those cops?" the boy asked quietly. Nathan knelt, so they were eye level. "I'm just a man who stood up for what's right." The boy nodded. "I want to be like you someday." Nathan smiled. "Then stand up for others when they need you. That's all it takes." As the boy ran off, Nathan stood there for a long time, watching the street. He wasn't sure what battles lay ahead, but he knew he wouldn't face them alone. He would be ready. Always.